What's a common misconception about a topic you're knowledgeable about that you'd like to debunk? Introversion versus extroversion has nothing to do with being shy or outgoing. By definition, the two concepts are about how one recharges, gets their energy. It's entirely possible to have an extremely outgoing, charismatic introvert, just as it's possible to have a shy, socially anxious extrovert. I say this as a person who is the latter, and shy, that I should take extra time to recharge so I had the energy to deal with people again. Spending time talking, hanging out with people was a major source of my unhappiness through college. Your brain is always 100 on and working. The myth that you only use 10 of your brain is commonly a marketing tactic, and maybe just a misunderstanding of the idea that most of our brain is guiding functions. Passively, breathing and movement and your organ functions and whatnot all require the brain to send those signals that keep them working. But typically we aren't super focused on these. A much smaller part of the brain handles complex thought. However, all of your brain is always somewhat active. Even if you are asleep, you will still exhibit activity in your brain. PMDD isn't bad PMS. PMDD happens when one's brain outprocess the normal change in one's hormones each month. Are literal problems with the receptors that cause everything to tank, especially serotonin, which results severe depression, brain fog, anger, inability to cope with normal stimuli, and often suicide. Oh, and it gets worse as one ages until menopause, when it stops completely. PMDD affects as many women as diabetes. At most don't know what's happening or why. Calling it bad PMS belittles the situation and reduces the help one will get. ADHD isn't a personality trait. The brain chemicals do not interact correctly. Abnormalities in the structure and functional connectivity that are consistently linked to ADHD can be seen on brain scans. Yes, it is hereditary. ADHD raises the risk for death in children and adults by twofold. Adults with ADHD are 8x more likely to commit suicide. So yes, it is legitimately a danger for people with ADHD to be undiagnosed and untreated. Stimulants were approved for ADHD because they are less risky than unmedicated ADHD. That is the hill I will die on. Autism doesn't make you dumb. It makes your neurons less likely to adapt to new information, causing you to prioritize and specialize into known information, which means we value expectations over change, have perspective issues, become anxious around chaos, and create feedback loops in our own heads that either encourage or disable ourselves. There's a lot more to it than that. But that's why autistic people can be hippies or robots, socialites or recluses. It kind of amplifies who you already are and stunts you from becoming anything else. It kills me on the inside. Like, yes, it's all under the same umbrella as bread, but the loaf I spent the whole day on is going to taste infinitely better and like a whole different product than your youre 10 loaf from the shops. And to use that argument against it when I tell them how long the process is, but you simply reap the rewards of your work and you get a product that's a lot more than your typical supermarket bread. Kind of a small one. But the bacteria in cows' stomachs don't help them digest grass. The bacteria aren't just breaking down the cellulose and passing it on. They aren't converting it into protein and secreting it, etc. Rather, the cow swallows grass and uses it to feed the bacteria, breeding them like in a broth culture, then derives nutrition by digesting the dead bacteria in its true stomach. Cows don't help us digest grass by eating it and then becoming our food, so bacteria don't help cattle digest grass either. A few things. Firstly, when a grenade explodes, it's not the 55-gallon oil drum exploding like people think it is. It's literally a puff of smoke. You might see a flash for an instant as it explodes, but there's no fireball like Hollywood makes you believe. Second, removing a magazine from a firearm doesn't make it safe. There's likely a round in the chamber. Third, guns don't just go off if you drop them, and certainly not like in True Lies when the SNG goes bouncing down the stairs and empties its entire magazine. I want to flip a table every time I hear orcas are actually dolphins, not whales. Yes, orcas are dolphins, and all dolphins are toothed whales. All dolphins are whales. But not all whales are dolphins also. Orca isn't a less offensive term for killer whale. Orchinus orca roughly translates to demon of the sea. Plus, it's not like orcas would give a fuck about our shitty human opinions anyways. They'd probably love being called killer whales, because they're assholes. Super intelligent badass holes. The misconception is history is written by the victors. No, history is written by those cultures which have a tradition of literary expression. Athens lost the Peloponnesian War. Our main source for that war is an Athenian writer. The Chinese lost the war against the Monkeys, and the Ming dynasty fell. Our sources for that conflict are Chinese writers. The Byzantine Empire was defeated in 1453, and Constantinople was taken by the Ottomans. A key account of that siege comes from a Byzantine author. Cleopatra ruled Egypt at the beginning of the Roman Empire. She wasn't alive in the time period we call ancient Egypt. She was of Greek descent, and in historical paintings she has a very classic Greek look. White skin with black hair. It's not racist or whitewashing to say she was white because she probably was. Recently a film came out about her and people were so mad they didn't cast an African actor, but she probably didn't look like she was from African descent anyway. Toxic mold basically doesn't exist. Yeah, it's a real thing. But if you see black mold, it's 99.9% guarantee that it isn't any more dangerous than any other allergen. Every breath you've ever taken has been a soup of mold spores, pollen, dust, human skin, bacteria, and bug shit. Source former basement waterproofer who is also an asthmatic. 10 years working in the moldiest and dustiest environment possible with zero consequences. Toxic mold is one of the OG clickbait issues. The McDonald's coffee lawsuit. It wasn't a cash grab. The coffee was superheated and the woman, Stella Liebeck, had parked and had the coffee between her legs to doctor it up. It spilled and burned her so bad it fused her labia together and gave her third-degree burns. She just wanted her medical bills paid, but McDonald's refused. The large award was the jury's choice to punish McDonald's and send a message. It was the same amount as 2 days of coffee sales for McDonald's. By massaging a sore muscle, you should really dig in there until you can feel it. No, it sounds paradoxical, but whether a person massaging or using an instrument like a massage gun, less pressure is better. Putting heavy pressure on a muscle is only going to cause pain, which will make the muscle contract tighter. Use light pressure until you can feel the muscle starting to relax, and go just a bit deeper. Rinse and repeat until the muscle has relaxed. There is no such thing as alpha male. The whole hypothesis about alpha male is based on a study biologist L. David Meck did on wolves. The problem is, he did his study on wolves in captivity. Once he realized he was wrong, he spent his life trying to fix his mistake, including trying to get HIS own books off the shelves. He never succeeded, and the alpha male wolf myth not only persists today, but is now used as an excuse for men to act like douchebags. The Bible never mentions that the forbidden fruit is an apple. It also doesn't mention how many wise men or kings visit Jesus. But there were 3 gifts. I guess that's why people assume it were 3 people. 2. Satan is not a name, but more like a title meaning the opposer or adversary. The serpent is called a Satan and is not necessarily the devil himself. There are a lot of misconceptions surrounding Satan and Lucifer though. Goats do not eat everything. They have a reputation for eating everything including tin cans. They are very curious and will check things out with their mouths, but their stomachs are far more sensitive than people realize. Lots of things are bad for them, including rhododendron, which can kill them. And for males that are fixed, grains are very dangerous and can work toward causing blockages in their urinary tracts. Satanists here, most Satanists don't actually worship Satan, but believe that this life is too short and precious to be wasted worrying about sin and judgment. Satan represents freedom for humanity, as he was God's favorite, yet he still rebelled against God to make sure humans had free will. Satan didn't become a cartoonish figure who tortures people until around 500 years after the Bible was written. As an introvert aficionado, I can tell you, we're not antisocial hermits. We just value quality over quantity in our social interactions. It's not that we don't like people, we just need our alone time to recharge. So, Next time you see an introvert quietly sipping coffee in a corner, we're not being aloof. We're just recharging our social batteries for the next epic hangout. Genuine leather is not a high-grade type of leather, in which means the top surface isn't really leather. Rather, the top layer of skin, if sanded down or split, and some kind of synthetic topping is added that looks perfect but will not wear nicely. Full-grain leather is what you want. Plutonium is not the most dangerous substance in the world. It isn't even the most dangerous radionuclide. Radium is far more deadly. Plutonium is not absorbed by the digestive system very well, but radium is. Radium is concentrated in the bones, but plutonium is not. The young women who died painting watch dials with radium would have lived if they used plutonium. That, when lifting weight, you do low reps to bulk up and high reps to tone. In reality, anything between 5-30 reps is going to stimulate muscle growth, and there is no such thing as toning. That look is a result of building muscle, then dieting down to a low body fat percentage. The muscles look very defined because there is very little body fat obscuring them. Having schizophrenia doesn't make you a knife-wielding maniac by default. The truth is BNSC gives you a larger chance of being a victim of serious crime. It's not like the movies. The reality is a more lonely-ass life full of different symptoms and challenges less known even by DUs is negative symptoms such as anhedonia and avolition which are crippling.